This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code DETROIT to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
It's time for the Wrestling Perspective Podcast. I'm Dennis Farrell. He's Eli Drake. What's going on, Eli?
Here he is. It's the Wrestling Perspective, and there's nothing going on. I'm not doing a damn thing. Sitting here staring at the wall, loving life. Can't complain.
Is there a such thing as ring rust? Because it seems like you're, week 2 now, week 3 from being inside the ring. Does that affect you, or after so much time, it's like just get back on a bike?
I mean, for the most part, you're fine. I've seen guys kind of disappear from the business for a while and then come back and look flawless. But I mean, definitely you can lose certain mechanics of working a match, or maybe you can lose like your ring wind, because there's nothing really that can replicate your ring wind as far as like you can do cardio on an elliptical or a treadmill or whatever for days, but like it doesn't replicate the same things that you're doing in the ring.
Is there a spot you go to train in a ring, or?
Occasionally, there hasn't been a regular one for a while. Just like I live right in the middle of LA. I live like in Hollywood, and there are no rings set up all that close to here. I just discovered one up in Burbank, which is at least decently close, depending on the time of day you go. It's maybe 20-minute ride, 30-minute ride, but before that, the closest ones were like an hour away. Anybody that we would know at those rings? So many personal questions. My God.
I know. I'm just warming up. I'm easing into this week's show.
Well, apparently, Aaron Stevens, formerly Damian Sandow, stops in there from time to time. He was not there that day. Ryan Nemeth, that's Dolph Ziggler's brother. He was there the day I was there when we were working out. I don't know who else might run up that way.
All right. I'm glad you brought Aaron up.
Okay, here we go.
Before we started to record, before we hit record on today's show, we were talking a little bit about episode 2 of NWA Power, which, by the way, Eli, I thought episode 2 was far superior than episode 1, and I loved episode 1.
But what about episode 2 was so much better?
You know what? I like the fact that you don't see the same guys out wrestling every single week. That's my biggest knock on Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE, is you have these talents, but you don't build them up to make them feel special, because they're out every single week wrestling other guys that should be main eventers or even upper mid-card guys and beating them, which doesn't do anybody any favors. So far in 2 episodes of NWA, you've had some debuts, which was pretty interesting, and you've had guys, come out and cut a promo, but not wrestle, and I really dig that kind of storytelling.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because then you're still getting a little taste of everybody without having to take up a lot of time and a lot of space, and also without seeming like you're trying to squeeze too many people into too small a space. It kind of works out just right. And to your point, what you were saying with how you see the same people wrestling every week on the other TV shows, the other thing that's really bad is that they don't really ever build up feuds, I feel like. If you look even, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I feel like you never really saw guys. I don't know if I said this to you last week, but I know I was saying it to Billy, but I can't remember if I said it on the show or not, but like they used to build up feuds to where like the guys never wrestled one-on-one until it was time for the big payoff match at, the pay-per-view or whatever. But now it's like before they even get to the pay-per-view, they've already wrestled one-on-one probably 3, 4, 5 times just on the weekly shows. Whereas I feel like there's a much more creative way to kind of keep guys apart, keep the tension going in their feud without them having to fight each other every damn week.
I'm glad you said that, because that's one of my biggest complaints in wrestling right now is you and I, we grew up on 6-month-long storylines, and they were phenomenal. Whether they were really good or not, they were good in our eyes because we were along for the ride, the ups and downs, the build-up. And
hell, you know what I've been watching a lot lately? If you go, you can go. A lot of people can go on YouTube and find this right now. Sting in the Crow era from like '96. That stuff all started. The whole Crow thing, that transformation, whatever, started in '96. The fall of '96. He didn't wrestle Hogan until December 28th or what, it was like the end of December 1997. So it was an entire year and 3 months later of this build-up before they even had the match. And of course, Hogan had other feuds going on in that meantime, but here they were able to grow this more broad, larger story. And it was damn amazing just watching the whole thing unfold. And I know they'll say, well, a lot of people don't have that same attention span now. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I think to just throw in the towel in that defeatist attitude and just going with the shorter storylines, I think is an awful idea. I think it can work in some facets, but I think if you're trying to build a big main event storyline, you got to give it a little bit more build, a little bit more layer. And I don't think the guys need to wrestle every damn week. Like, even if they are wrestling every week, they shouldn't be wrestling each other every week. I can even remember in the Attitude Era, usually everybody did wrestle every week because you kind of wanted to keep the stars on TV and whatnot. But like, The Rock and Stone Cold didn't wrestle one-on-one until it was WrestleMania. Leading up to that, maybe they'd have a tag match where somehow they'd end up in the ring together in some way, but usually not. Usually it was just, one guy was wrestling a random ass wrestling match against somebody. Maybe the other guy would bust in, cause a distraction, something like that, keeping the feud going. Maybe they didn't, and there was a promo or whatever, but they never, ever, ever wrestled one-on-one until it was time for the payoff.
That's what made wrestling so good. And there is room for that in today's wrestling. Think of how many of these storylines that and you haven't really watched much wrestling, so you might not be as dialed in, but Impact, Ring of Honor, you can even point to WWE, where some of these storylines that they go through in a month or 2 weeks would be really phenomenal if they drew them out, add some storytelling to it, put a little bit of drama into it. You could have some phenomenal storylines that could last the test of time, but in all honesty, if you were to sit down and think about it, it might be 20 years ago was the last meaningful storyline you could remember that would last the test of time, that we could tell, as nerdy as this is about to sound, our kids, like back in my day in wrestling, you had this, this, and this. I feel like in the last 20 years, we're void of that kind of storyline.
I would think so. And I mean, I don't know at what point that happened, but I can remember to what you're saying. I'm a couple years behind on this one. This is probably 2-3 years ago, but I can remember people always talking about how frequent Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler would wrestle on TV all the time. That seemed to be a very regular matchup week after week after week for like months at a time. And it's like, well, okay, if they keep doing that, then what's the point of having them wrestle at a pay-per-view?
I think it was when they started doing a monthly pay-per-view where you couldn't do the long-term storylines because every month you had to crank out something.
Yeah, but there's no reason that pay-per-view can't lead into the next. I mean, like if you even look at the original idea, I feel like for Backlash was always kind of it was always kind of the answer to WrestleMania. It was like, okay, something big happened at WrestleMania, title change, something like that, at least for the main event storyline. And then it was like, here was the rematch a lot of times.
On that, I guess not that you would know or not know, but is NWA doing monthly pay-per-views, or are they going to do, I don't know if randomly do it, but do you know their pay-per-view schedule?
It's definitely not monthly. I don't know what the schedule is, but I mean, obviously the first one's December 14th. So I don't know what the actual schedule is going to be, if it's going to be quarterly or how that's going to work.
I hope it's not monthly. I don't
think it would be.
I want them to feel special. And the pay-per-views don't feel special if they happen every month.
Well, especially after doing that Hard Rock press conference that we did with Billy and him kind of laying everything out, because I'd been given everything pretty rough for the most part. Like they'd kind of given me a rough idea of what they're doing. But when he really spelled it out for everybody there, it was like that was the one aha moment where the light bulb kind of went off, and it was like, okay, I get this. I get where we're going. And especially then seeing it all come together and the way it came together, I've got complete faith in the fact that I don't think he's going to make that decision to do that and water it down, because as it's been right now, it's been just what it needs to be.
It's perfect. Somehow, you guys have taken the idea of studio wrestling that was phenomenal back in the day and made it fresh and new in its own thing. And that's what I really dig about NWA is you take a simple concept, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your skirt here, because I'll give you
that smoke.
I'll give you a criticism here in a second, but
it's a kilt, by the way.
Kilt, skirt, either way, I'm blowing smoke up it. I sat back and watched episode 2 thinking, what a amazing concept that still works today, and you're proving it. It is. You're not going crazy like MLW, and I watched my first MLW show in like a year, unimpressed. Impact, I love Impact. I love it because, I know the people there, and if I didn't, I don't know if I'd watch it or not, so that's not a fair comparison. And WWE, it's tough because it's easy to hate the big guys, the most successful guys. And the product has been lacking. There's no secret there. I think it's too polished, but NWA it's not polished.
Well, see, I think NWA is just polished enough without being completely overly polished. Because you look at WWE now, it's so overproduced. It's too homogenized. All of the sets look exactly the same. The only one that looks different is WrestleMania. Otherwise, you have no idea what show you're watching. I mean, unless, of course, if you're watching it live, you know what day it is. But if you're watching it retroactively, you have no clue what show you're watching because they all look exactly the damn same. Whereas, SmackDown used to have its own unique set. Raw used to have its own unique set. Even, hell, I like the old Raw set where it was just the ramp, the big-ass curtain, the Titantron, and that was it. Because that was Raw. The name of the show is Raw. It was supposed to be Raw. It is so cooked, it's burnt at this point. It's the opposite of Raw. But that said, if you look at what NWA is doing, I've seen people say, first of all, the mic work, top to bottom, solid. We don't have anybody who's lagging in that department. That's enormous. That's huge because that's what's really honestly been missing from the wrestling business for the longest time. Characters. That's why all this Cirque du Soleil dive spot stuff has gotten so big. And I just saw somebody tweet yesterday, and they're so on the money. We're creating excitement without having an egregious amount of leg slaps, dive spots, and the Cirque du Soleil stuff. And I've just watched shows recently where the first 2 or 3 matches all had dives. People are just slapping their own legs, slapping their arms, slap. And it's like, that used to mean something. Like I can remember back in the day when Owen Hart was still around, he'd hit that enziguri on somebody. You didn't see him hit the slap, but you'd hear that skin on skin contact. You'd be like, oh my God. And it would really have an impact. Whereas now, guys are doing the slap on gut kicks. They're doing the slap on chops, which already makes a slap sound anyway. What's the damn point? They're doing slaps on punches. They're doing slaps on everything, on the most useless stuff, and it's making that slap sound mean absolutely nothing. And the people are onto it anyway. I mean, how often do you kick somebody in the gut and it sounds like it doesn't? The fact that we can get over with characters. I don't even know if any of our matches yesterday or last week had a dive spot, which is fine. You can add that stuff and it can be there and exciting, but it has to mean something. It has to be there for a reason. If I have to pull out all the stops to beat, this guy 1 week, but I'm trying to wrestle the champion in a couple other weeks, like if I can't beat this regular guy this week doing all that stuff, or I have to do all that stuff just to beat him, then what the hell am I going to have to do to beat the champion?
No, I'm with you.
It's just making sense. You just got to make stuff make sense to some degree in the wrestling world.
Fans may not even know this about the slap, but I feel like it was like maybe the last 5 years where the slap really took over the wrestling business. Where
it's the worst.
It kills me. The WWE is the biggest perpetrators of this. Even Impact, as much as I get on Petey about it all the time, it's like
it's WWE, it's Impact, it's AEW, it's all of the indies, it's everywhere, and it's the worst.
I get why some wrestlers may want to do that, but for me as a fan, I don't need the extra audio. What would you even call that? Like a visualization. I don't need the audio version of that to really hammer home what they're doing.
You could use it here and there, and that's what I'm saying. If you use it to be special, when you hear that sound and you only hear it once a night or maybe twice at the most in a night, you're like, oh, damn. As opposed to every single impact that somebody hits makes that sound. I've watched plenty of UFC fights. I've never heard that sound once. Maybe rarely, if there's like a really clean head kick or body kick, you might get that sound. But just a straight front on kick to the gut, it's not making that sound. And why would you do that? And why would you take away the specialness? Again, if you go back and again, I use Owen Hart because he's the only guy I can ever even remember doing it. He hits that enziguri, the thing looks nasty, and you're like, oh, damn, he just took that guy's head off, and it might have been for real.
Yes, but instead now, if you put that spot in today's wrestling, they're slapping their legs walking to the ring. That's how horrible it's an epidemic in wrestling, honestly. But what started me on this was my one small complaint about episode 2. And it was,
here we go.
And it was Aaron's promo. And it's okay. I popped when he came out, and I'm a big fan of his. I want to say this before it seems like I'm like the angry, nerdy wrestler guy here. I'm not. I really enjoy him. I'm glad to see him there, and I think he can make a difference. But from start to finish in his promo, it just seemed a little bit wonky. In the sense that he started out as one personality and kind of in the middle where his promo probably should have started where he was telling Marquez, is it Marquez, Dave Marquez?
Yeah. Where
he was telling Dave Marquez, look down, don't look me in the eyes. That should have been where his promo started. And it was just a little bit irritating where it's like, oh, no, because it felt like it was two different personalities or two different promos shoved into one.
Yeah, I guess maybe I don't know. I guess it was anticipating or maybe playing off of that initial pop when he came out. Maybe it was kind of like, all right, well, let me draw him in a little bit and then switch it. But, yeah, I can see to where maybe that kind of throws the veil over reality in some way where it's kind of like, all right, well, that doesn't really make sense because why didn't he feel that way when he first came out? I follow you.
But that's the only complaint I had. From start to finish on that show, that was it. Even here's the thing. I want to love Jim Cornette a lot, but some of his antics outside the wrestling industry irritate me a little bit. But I sit down and I find myself enjoying classic Cornette, and it seems like this is a Jim Cornette I've not heard in 20 years because he has this special love affair with the NWA.
Man, between him and Joe Galley, I feel like it's a perfect team because Joe Galley's a straight guy, and then you got a lot of color coming from Jim Cornette. It's really damn good. Man, I totally lost my train of thought right there. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Aaron's promo, the way the show was done, and once again, what sets this show so much different from anyone else, and that makes me want to be a fan is it's
tire irons and waffles.
Dude, how awesome was that?
I didn't even know what the hell I was looking at.
That was phenomenal.
Nobody else has tire irons and waffles.
But
in Paducah.
But right there, that's classic Southern like commercial. I grew up in the South a little bit, Georgia. I got to tell you, like I've seen a million of those kind of commercials.
Yeah, I got friends now who are like, "Oh my God, get me in contact with Billy. I want to shoot their commercials." Yeah, it's the best.
It is, and in an age where everybody's trying to make a dollar off of every free second that they have on their shows, the fact that NWA is coming out and having fun with some of their free time is amazing.
It's so good. But that was the thing too, is I was confused. I was like, first of all, I had the show on while I was at the gym, so it was like I was mostly listening and occasionally looking over, but it was like just in my ears while I was working out. So like I'm hearing this and I'm like, is this real? Is this a real business? Is this a real thing? And I still don't even know, but I dig it, whatever it was.
But back to the point that we were saying at the top of the show. Here's a show where it has a stacked roster from top to bottom, and you didn't see the same guys on every show, and that's what I think is going to be the backbone. If the NWA doesn't get to the point where it's like, all right, we need to have these guys out here wrestling every show for the hits, your show will be successful.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want face time for your main characters, but I don't think that they need to wrestle every week. If you look at some of the best shows on TV, like, I mean, I know they've fallen off a little bit in the last couple of years, but if you look at like Walking Dead, for instance, they've got a cast that's like, there's a set group of main people that are like the main characters to follow, like Daryl, Rick, I forget the other chick's name, but like there's like maybe 5 or 6 people that you really focus on. Then there's like a kind of a secondary cast that like you kind of know, but like you don't follow as tightly. And then there's all these other people. Why isn't wrestling run a little bit more that way, where it's like you don't always have to be the guy carrying the load of the show in a certain sense. If you have a certain amount of those top people who can just show their face, strong kind of secondary supporting cast, and then you've got other guys to kind of feed all those upper talents, I think you got a good solid show, and you're not having to squeeze in 80 guys into an hour or 2 hour show like I think a lot of companies are doing now, where they're oversaturated with talent as opposed to kind of focusing on a main few guys, maybe possibly building up some people and having some feeders.
Do you think a small 1 hour studio show has the room or the limits or the capability to have a strong stable? Because I'm trying to look back and remember in the old studio shows if they really had stables back then. I think it was more tag team driven, but not so much stable driven.
I think it's possible. I think the only thing is I don't know how long it could last. Well, actually, no, I take that back. But I think that would have to take some time. Only because, again, I don't think you want to oversaturate the roster. In order to have stables, you kind of are going to need guys or girls enough to kind of fill that while not taking up the entire roster. But I don't think that we want to oversaturate the roster at this point. I could be wrong. Maybe it happens. I'm not sure. But I think that we could do that at some point down the line.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to see it on a small studio show like that, because I feel like on a roster like that, if you put 4 to 3 people together, you're pretty much unstoppable and run roughshod.
Well, I mean, they could also do it the old Heenan family way, where it could just be like where the guys aren't necessarily like together; they just all happen to be managed by the same guy.
I like that idea.
I don't see why that couldn't work. And if we can find a couple good talking managers, which I actually know a few, I feel like that could actually work out pretty well.
Do you think,
especially for the guys who maybe aren't as strong at talkers? Although, fortunately, I think a lot of our guys are. But anybody who might be lagging in that department, you bring in a good talker for them who could be their mouthpiece. That makes everything a lot easier for them, and it also gets them showcased a little better.
Do you think we could see, now we've seen this whole, female division, we're back in the, women's revolution. We've seen the rise of the tag team division again. Do you think we could see the rise of managers in wrestling again? Or do you think that's just one of those, no matter how popular people think that was, it's got to be a cost-cutting thing?
No, I think that there's an enormous value to that. Look at Brock and Paul Heyman. I mean, I know a lot of people feel one way or the other about that whole situation, but Paul's been an amazing mouthpiece for him. Now, Brock, the weird thing is, Brock is awful at promos in wrestling. He was great at promos in UFC. I don't know what the difference was, but something was let loose in UFC that he can't seem to let loose when he's under the wrestling umbrella. But it's the perfect team up, because here's this kind of weaselly guy who's talking big. And why? Because he's got this damn beast behind him. And I don't know. That's working now, present day. I don't see why there couldn't be more of that. The key is, I don't think that there are a lot of guys coming up who want to be managers. Honestly, I don't think there are a lot of guys who are great talkers, so it just kind of limits the market for managers. And the only guys that I know that are managers on the indies are usually guys who are awful at wrestling, not great talkers, but it was just that their wrestling was so awful, but they were still paying the gym dues, that they were just kind of like, hey, why don't we try you out as a manager? And they're just bodies at this point.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. Or pretty faces. And that's the other thing I don't like about what managers have become. It's all of a sudden it's, a pair of boobs and a nice butt, and you walk around the ring is what qualifies you as a manager nowadays.
Well, it's been for a while. It's been for a long time.
It's a far departure from what I grew up thinking a wrestling manager should be. Even Sensational Sherry.
Yeah, well, I mean, she also. Yeah, see, that was the weird thing. Is like, I never really saw her as like sexy, Like Elizabeth was like, Miss Elizabeth was like the beautiful one. Sherry was kind of like scary Sherry. After all, he got Luna. Although these women were also wrestlers at some point, but I always knew them more as like valets or managers or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, see Camille though, I feel like is very special in the sense that like she's a big girl, like she's a big country ass girl, and like especially when Nick was at Ring of Honor, she was bigger than some of the guys. So that in a sense that was almost a great. It's such a great setup because it's like, first of all, he's got a girl watching his back, which kind of reeks of like, I don't know. It's kind of like that old Triple H with China type of thing where it's like you've got a chick watching your back, but at the same time, it's a chick who can kick some ass, especially on some of these guys who are, 5'8", 5'9", and 150 pounds, and she's as big, if not bigger than them. So it's almost kind of like it's like pulling their punk card in a certain sense. So I dig it. I think it's cool. I think it's special. And I like the fact that they haven't let her talk yet.
See, here's when you said she's like big, like country big, I don't get that from the way that they're shooting her on TV, because at least the way they shoot her on TV, she looks like a petite thing with kind of an edge because she's not talking, which is great, by the way. But she's a very attractive, but like she's a big girl, but she's very attractive. Like I think she's like 5'10". Really?
She's like, I think she's like 5'9" or 5'10", and then when she puts those heels on, she's easily over like 6'1", maybe 6'2". Like she's and I mean she was trying to get in a competition for some sort of figure or not quite bodybuilding, but like it's the next thing underneath that. I think it's figure or bikini. I don't remember. But like she gets in the gym. But yeah, I mean she's a big strong girl.
See, I'm going to go back and watch it again and see now that you told me that if I can really see it more. Because they do a good job of not making her look, and by the way, when I say big, I don't mean body wise or anything. I just mean the size of her persona, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think some of that, if I'm 100% transparent, I think some of that's just her being slightly greenish. I think that's going to kind of come with time. But then again, I think it's also she's able to walk the line of being like demure while also dangerous in a certain sense. That sounds like a tag team name. But yeah, I don't know. See, now I feel like I need to go back and watch it, but because she does move kind of stiff and whatnot. But I always liken that to like China when she first came in, quiet, didn't talk, kind of just like stood there and watched. And she was the insurance policy, if you will.
Yeah, now I'm going to go back and watch that with that kind of point of view.
She's just like a more attractive China, I feel like. Just not as masculine.
No,
but still big, almost just as tall. And I think she's like a solid probably, man, she's got to be 160, 170. Just like she's pretty muscular chick. She's not like super cut, but she's thick.
Boy, no. Now you got me wanting to go back and look, but back to what we were saying. That roster that you guys have down there is so sneakily stacked that people don't even realize it.
Man, we got a bunch of talkers, and that's the thing, because it's like, man, I haven't seen one promo yet that's been off, bad, awkward, so. Everything's been damn good. And if you even look at the interactions with the interviewers, Dave Marquez is great. He reminds me of like a much more straight Gene Okerlund. I don't want to oversell him, but I'm saying Gene Okerlund in the sense that he actually reacts to what the person says. Sometimes he'll interject or add something, whereas so many of these ring announcers now, as you were saying about some of the managers of valets, they're just pretty faces. And they're just there, and they don't really know what they're doing. They don't really know how to interact with the wrestler. It's just, hey, blah, 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 this happened. What are your thoughts? And it's that bland bullshit. And Dave knows his way around a microphone. I feel like Joe's pretty decent with that. And so it's kind of like they can add in, they can respond, interject, and it feels more natural than some wooden interviewer who doesn't know what she's doing or he's doing, and then this monologue.
So now, 2 episodes in, if Eli Drake could go in and change one thing about either the presentation, how it's set up, shot, anything that you would go back and change, just you as a fan, not Eli the wrestler that wants this to succeed, but Eli the fan, what would you go in and say, you know what, I like this, but maybe this would be a little different?
Oh, I actually, as soon as I got home, while I was there, I took a picture of the interview set where it says power, and it has power, all stacked up in the background. Mm-hmm. And I put that through, what's my video editing software? I don't know. I put it through some video editing software, and I set it up with lights so that the words power would light up kind of randomly or build up. It's a small set item, but I was just like, I feel like this would be a nice touch if while we were standing there doing the interviews, in the background, the words power just randomly, this one lights up, then this one lights up. And it's just kind of, just every now and then one of them lights up, or maybe it lights up increasingly. Like it looks like the power is actually raising up or something like that. It's just a little set piece. But as far as the actual presentation of the action or anything like that, I don't have anything to add. I think right now it's kind of perfect where it is.
I think the only thing I would change, and it's not even a big change, it would be, I would like to see the old school guy in the control room talking about either news that has happened in the NWA or maybe some news and a little bit of where we're going to be in the future. Kind of. Do you remember the old kind of control room set?
Yep.
That's what
I remember that more in the WWF though, with like Alfred Hayes and Mean Gene Okerlund. But good news for you, I don't think that's out of the question, because as far as I know, I think along with that studio, we have like kind of a news desk area type place too.
Okay. That makes
so I think we might have something kind of like that. I don't know that we've used it yet, but I'm just saying I think we have the possibility of doing so.
That's it. That's my only critique. I think you guys doing it the simple way can easily compete to be the number 3 organization in wrestling in America.
Well, and again, something else that I saw somebody say the other day, and I think even Billy might have said this himself, is kind of where we are punk rock, kind of sticking out against arena rock. We're doing it in the smaller venues, but we're getting like that little bit of a following, that little bit of a buzz where people are like, oh, this is different. And it doesn't have to be in a huge arena. Maybe someday it will, but I think we're still going to stick to the studio roots because that's what's working. But it just has that old school feel, but we're still doing things our way. We're still doing things different. And it was like Billy said from the start, innovate within the space. It doesn't matter that we're in a studio. It doesn't matter if we're in an arena. The whole idea is doing things differently than anybody else is doing them.
All right. On that note, I want to transition into something else before we wrap up this week's episode.
Wait, I want to transition into something else. Let me host the show for a minute. All right. So last week we were talking, and we got into the Blue Chew ad. And as we were in the Blue Chew ad, you told me about a story you were going to tell me off the air. You told me the story, and I said, I feel like you should share it with the people. I feel like these people need to know you. Dennis, do these people even know you?
Would you like me to tell a story?
What do they know about you?
Well, I am.
This can't just be. Now, look, I appreciate it, and I think it should be the Eli Drake Show. We should change the damn name. But at the same time, I'm just saying, I feel like the people need to know you. They need to get a little glimpse in every now and then, give them a little taste, just so they know who's talking to them.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going through a divorce right now, and I've decided that it's time for me to go out and start dating again.
Attaboy. How long ago did you get divorced?
Well, we're going through it currently.
How long ago did you file?
Oh, probably about a month ago.
Oh, okay. Wow. It's that fresh.
Yes, that fresh. So
okay.
I am. It's time for me to move on and start.
Are you happy about it? Are you sad about it? Or are you indifferent?
I'm happy.
Okay.
I'm happy. I'm the one that asked.
Amicable split?
Very. More,
all right.
More than I thought it would be.
Okay, good. No kids involved?
One kid.
One kid, okay.
She's doing all right. We've got the agreement in place. There's no fighting over anything. It's easy peasy Japanesey here.
You're very lucky. Most people don't experience that, I don't think.
I'm very lucky. But I'm like, you know what? I want to go out on a date.
Hell yeah.
So this lady from a place I'm employed asked me to go to a concert with her, just as, and I'm using the finger air quote things, friends. I'm like, you know what? That sounds good. I can use a night out. So we go see a concert. We get there. We're sitting down. The opening act's on. And I'm like, I'll go get us some beer. She's like, yes, please. So I run back. I get beers. I grab us each a beer and each a little shot. Bring it back.
Is this your first time ever hanging out with her, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
First time ever. And like I don't know her at all. So I get the beers, a shot. We sit down, and she's a little aggravated. I'm like, what's going on? And now, listen, if anybody's kids are listening, there will be some cussing.
All right.
I got to cuss to make this story entertaining.
So wait, before you get there, when you left her, was she agitated then?
No.
Or only when you came back?
Only when I came back.
Okay.
I sit down, I hand her the beer, and she's a little agitated. I go, what's going on? She's like, well, while you were gone, one of the ushers came down and said that someone around us complained that I was being loud, which he was. I go, well, it's not a big deal. You got the beer, sit back and enjoy the show.
Loud how? She's at a concert.
I guess just loud and annoying, and she was loud and annoying. And Absolutely. If I was sitting around her, I'd have been like, "Who is this broad? Jesus Christ!"
All right.
But now I'm sitting next to her, so she leans in front of me to the little 20-year-old, 21-year-old girl that was sitting next to me, and goes, "I know it was you that told. I'm gonna get you, you bitch," just like that. Now,
all right. Now at this point, are you thinking, "Man, I wish I was on the date with this girl next to me and not the other one"?
Well, I'm old enough to be her dad, but
oh boy, I'm sorry. Yeah, see, I'm thinking from my point of view.
yeah, I'm old enough. She couldn't have been 21. If she was 21, I'd have been shocked.
Oh boy.
And the girl just has a shocked look and stares ahead again. Then the girl I'm with leans back over and says, "I can't believe it. We're at a concert and you're bitching about how loud I'm being." And just little jabs like this. Now,
I mean, that was my first thought, but I guess it also depends on like how she was being loud, what she was doing.
Yeah. Oh, she was being loud and she was being obnoxious and kicking chairs and standing in the aisleway and doing the horrible white girl dancing stuff.
Oh boy.
Yes. So like she would go in these weird fits where for a half second she's angry and pissed and calling everybody bitches, and then the other half of the time she'd start swaying and cuddling with me. It was the weirdest thing. And
was she already drunk?
No, but I found out later she's a pill popper.
Makes sense. There had to have been something in there because this is such erratic behavior.
I know. So now every time she goes into this, like, close her eyes and sway to the music, I take that opportunity to lean over to the girl next to me and go, "I am so sorry. I have no clue what's going on. First time I'm going out with her. Like, it's the Dennis Farrell Apology Tour 2019. Just everywhere." So then she'd like snap out of it and lean back over and be like, "Oh, I'm going to ruin this concert just the way you ruined it for me." And
oh boy.
Now the girl, to her credit, leans over and says, "Miss, I don't know if you know this, but I've been sitting in this seat the whole time. How could I tell the ushers?" She goes, "Well, I know it's you." Now the girl takes this opportunity to point to the two girls in front of us and go, "It was them." Just ratted them out. I respect that, by the way. She sold her fellow women out so she can enjoy the concert.
Right.
So now this girl leans in between these two girls. You know how the seats are, just a couple inches apart, like between them, and goes, "I know it was you two bitches, and I'm going to ruin this concert for you." And then just lean back and start dancing again. And then you could see the two girls look at each other in like this horrifying way. And then she'd do this like passive aggressive air flick where she's like flicking the back of their heads but not really touching them.
Oh yeah,
just like an Italian mobster would do or something. That's like passive aggressive. So finally, one of the girl turns around and goes, "Listen, you were being loud and obnoxious, and you were kicking my chair, and I apologize. I didn't know this would be this big of a thing. Let's just move on with it, right? And it's not that big of a deal." And she's like, "Oh no, it's on now. This is a bucket list.
You apologize now? Now you're gonna get it."
Yeah, this is a bucket list concert, and I'm gonna ruin this concert for you two the same way you ruined it for me. So then she'd get up and start like white girl swaying in front of them. Then she'd come sit back down and just talk all kinds of shit. "How is that, bitches? How do you like it now, huh?" Like, what the?
How long is this concert going?
We are probably 4 songs into the main event. That's how long this has taken. We probably
so wait a minute. But how long was the whole duration of the concert?
Oh, I don't know. And I will tell you. Because
she wasn't doing this the whole time, was she?
Yes, because we got kicked out.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So the 2 ushers show up eventually, at 2 different times to tell her, calm down. Finally, security comes down and says, "You two have to leave." And so she's getting up and making this big scene, and everybody's applauding. And I'm apologizing to anybody I'm so sorry. I don't know what the fuck. This is the first time I've ever been out with her. I don't know what's going on. Oh.
Yeah, now you're guilty by association. You're shithead just for sitting next to her.
Oh, yeah. And I got to tell you, like, I searched Twitter and Facebook after the concert to see if anybody was posting about that incident so I could apologize to them there, too. like I was ashamed. So we get kicked out. and there's a bar next door, and I'm like, I need a drink. I'm going to get a drink. So she goes with me because I'm her ride. I'm sitting there drinking, and she goes, this was a bucket list concert. And
wait, now how far are you from home?
An hour.
Oh, man, you put yourself in the worst position.
I know. Listen, I didn't say I was smart.
Ooh, go on.
So I'm sitting there having a beer, and she goes on about how this was a bucket list concert for her, and if she was dying of cancer, they were ruining it for her, and she'll never get this moment back. I go, well,
if she was dying with cancer,
I go, well, you're not dying of cancer, so it's okay. She goes, well, you don't know that. I vape, and on the news they say vaping's bad for you, so I could be dying of cancer right now, and you wouldn't even know it. I go,
wow, what a psychopath.
I just said, get well soon. I finished.
Yeah.
What do you say? So then we get we call the Uber, and there are two guys across the street smoking pot, and she's bitching about that. And I just warned her. I said, look, I'm not going to take a punch for you, so choose your words to them wisely, because I will not take a punch for you.
Right? You've already gotten pulled in the middle of a bunch of stuff.
Right? I got kicked out. I got kicked out of a concert. I
had driven her ass right home and gone to a bar by my place. Be like, I'm out of here. I'm not spending any more time with this lady than I need to.
So now we get in the Uber and we're driving, and now she picks a fight with the Uber driver over the legalization of marijuana to the point where he kicks us out of his Uber.
This is a night of getting kicked out.
3 blocks from the parking garage where we parked in downtown Detroit.
Perfect.
So now we hoof it, and by the way, hoof it for me at least, to the car. Get in the car. She's doing some nagging, but I'm just like, you know what? I'm double timing it. I'm working past this nag just to get to my car. We get in the car, we pull out, we start to drive, and now she's uncontrollably bawling about how her mother ruined her life and about how her kid hates her now because of her mom, and her mom, held her back financially from being successful. And how
you're getting the deep dive now.
Bawling. I mean, bawling. So now I get to her house, pull up, and she goes, so, do you want to come upstairs?
What? Well, I mean, you already popped your Blue Chew. You don't want it to go to waste.
I said, okay. Like that wasn't enough to scare me off. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
That's normal guy behavior for anybody who's not aware out there. That makes sense.
So I'm laying in her bed, and she's rubbing me down with cocoa oil or cocoa butter. Cocoa something.
Okay.
Nice experience. I'm leaned back. I'm relaxing. She's, touching all the bits and pieces and, hitting all the buttons. And she reached in and took a dab of this cocoa thing, leaned over the bed, and starts feeding it to her dog.
Okay. Probably coconut oil then, I'm guessing.
Coconut oil, there you go.
Yeah.
Leans over and feeds it to her dog. And with the same hand, by the way, that she had been rubbing me down with,
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I said, I had a nice night. It's getting really late, later than I thought. I probably should go. And I got dressed, polited my way out the door, got in my car, and went, what the fuck just happened?
You're about 3 hours too late on that one.
Yep, right. So here's the part I didn't tell you, and I can send you some screenshots of this text.
Oh boy.
I had taken the day off of work the like a couple days later, and I will read you these texts word for word here. Let me find them here.
Here we go.
Oh, Eli, this.
So wait, this concert was in downtown Detroit or somewhere around Detroit?
Yep.
Where do you actually live?
I live in the suburbs in kind of Novi. I don't know how familiar you are with the Michigan landscape of towns.
Not whatsoever, but you're saying it's like almost an hour away?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Don't do that again. Awful idea.
Yeah, trust me. I've got PTSD from dating.
Was that your first date since?
Yes.
Oh wow, that's a rough one out the start.
All right. So now here's what she sends me. Hey, this is at like 11:30 at night, and I'm asleep at this point. Hey, you didn't go to work? Hello. Okay, fuck off then. I come back with, I was sleeping. I get up at 3:45. She goes, you were on Facebook Messenger. I go, I'm not. I'm just waking up. She goes, that's not what Facebook says.
Oh boy.
And I go, no, I'm just getting up. She goes, I don't care. I go, okay. She goes, and by the way, first time hanging out with her, right? She goes, you kind of lost my respect when you didn't tell me that you called off work today. I go, I had a vacation day already in the books for like 2 weeks.
Why is it her business?
Well, she goes, you didn't say anything to me about it, though. Now, this is a text word for word. I'm going to take a picture of this before I tell you, because I want to send it to you so you can. Eli, I got to tell you. You would not believe that this is real if I didn't just sending it to you now. Let's see. Tell me when you get it. There you go.
I just heard the text sound come through. Okay, got it.
Now, the first text on there is the next text that she sent me. Yeah. You can read it to the people.
I don't understand. I don't understand.
Go ahead and read it.
You want me to read it?
I want you to read that.
I'm gonna substitute some words here. I had your schmeckel in my hand 3 days ago, but I had to hear that you didn't come to work from a third party. Why is that a thing for her?
I don't know. But you wouldn't believe that text if I would have told you, unless you just saw it with your eyes, would you?
I mean, I've dealt with some crazies, but this is, I don't know, that's silly. You know what, though? This is going to lead me into a new segment on the show, dating tips with Eli Drake. So you put yourself in an awful situation. Mm-hmm. Now we need to get you ship-shape. We need to get you up and ready to go. Now that you're newly single, you're ready to rock. It's time to go. But here's what you got to do. You live in a suburb, right?
I do.
Okay. Do you have any kind of like chill bars close to your place?
Oh yeah, tons.
Do you live alone?
Soon, at the end of the month.
End of the month. Okay. Well, then wait till the end of the month, obviously, because you don't want to step on any toes.
Right.
End of the month. Here's what you do. No dinner dates. No concert dates. You want to go to concerts, you go with your friends. You want to go to dinner, you go with your friends, or you go with a girlfriend when and if you have one. But in the meantime, somebody like this you don't want to get stuck with for hours. And then when it goes awry, then you got an hour drive back home. Awful. Terrible. Find a little bar that's close to your place. Make it your go-to spot, first date spot. Makes it easy. You invite whomever. Hey, why don't you come get a drink with me? Drinks are easy. It's casual. And then if you need an escape route, it's getting late. All right, I got to get out of here. It was really nice meeting you. See ya. Or if everything's going well, you nurse the drinks. Don't go heavy on the drinks. You have one, you have two, but you just nurse them because it's just kind of an excuse to meet up. You talk, you hang out, tell some jokes, tell some stories, make her laugh. And then after you get a certain sense of comfort, you've maybe broken that touch barrier a little bit. Hey, you want to take a walk? Assuming your place might be walking distance. Or somehow you make the invite to go back to your place for whatever reason, whatever's going on, and then you make the move within 5 minutes of walking through that door. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a great goddamn time. And you won't be dealing with any of this stuff.
Oh, boy. Let me tell you. Yeah, Blue Chew. Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective.
Yeah. You don't want this because you'll end up the end of the night. You'll pop your Blue Chew. You have to go back and log on to Pornhub.
Oh boy, let me tell you, it was.
Well, we just took this podcast into the depths, didn't we?
Yeah. No. Oh, it was. Listen, I guess we can ease into a Blue Chew ad before you get. And there was so much I wanted to get to this week. We'll get to it next week.
That's all right. People got a little peek in the dentist here for once.
Yes,
and we got a little dating tips here, everybody. Remember that. You just go for drinks, casual place, buy your place, makes it easy. Never meet in the middle. Don't meet in the middle. Whatever you do, it never goes well. You always meet either close to her place or close to your place. That means you have a chance of actually completing the transaction before the night's through, if you follow what I'm saying.
So, good. Now, let's...
and make sure you got your Blue Chew on hand since we're getting in there.
Yes, Blue Chew. Go to BlueChew.com. Use the promo code Perspective. If you're ever locked in a room with a crazy lady and you're like, you know what, I'm going for it, you at least want to put on your best showing that you can. Because
make sure she remembers you.
Yeah, even crazy girls have friends and they talk to their friends. So
that's right.
So pop your Blue Chew. It works twice as fast because it's chewable. It's made with the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know it works. It's a proud sponsor of this podcast, so you want to support us. All you have to do is go to BlueChew.com. Use that promo.
You know what? That's a great that's a great slogan for them. Blue Chew. Make her tell her friends.
I love it. Blue Chew. Make
there's no better advertising than word of mouth, my friends. Go on.
There you go. Tell them we sent you. But head over there, use the promo code. Eli himself will send you one free order, but he's not paying for shipping and handling. That's only $5. And I'm sure you spent more than $5 on your Kenny Omega pin or your Young Buck shirts or you know, your Damian Sandow 3-disc greatest hits DVD set from WWE.
There you go.
Yeah, so go spend $5 on us, or you know, $25 and buy a shirt of Eli's, and you're sure to get laid in an Eli Drake shirt.
That's, you know what, that's the truth. I was backstage wearing mine at NWA, and a girl who wasn't even part of the show, she was just working at the studio. She was like, you know, you look like a model in that shirt, and I was like, I know, I designed it myself.
I am a model, an international male supermodel.
Oh boy.
Oh man, so much stuff we did. I'm glad that you forced me into telling that story though, because you know what, I can laugh about it now.
Have you ever told a story like that on here before?
No.
Okay, good. We're breaking ground. Maybe the people will love it. Maybe they'll hate it. I have a good feeling they're going to be like, you know what, that was pretty entertaining. I got a glimpse into that guy's life, and now I'm going to like it a lot more when he tells me stuff about wrestling. Or maybe they'll be like, you know what, I don't give a shit about any of this. Never talk about that again. We'll find out.
Either way, you know, my misery is your laughter.
Well, hopefully your misery turns into success.
Boy, you know, hey, look, it would have ended great, but I just, if a woman has her hand on my little buddy, and then 2 seconds later she's feeding a dog something that she rubbed on me.
Well, at least it was in that order and not the other way around.
Well, that's what I was afraid of, because once that dog licked her fingers clean, I knew.
Oh, maybe he was coming for you next.
Yeah, well, him or her hand was coming back into business, and I had to pull the ripcord. I had to bail out. I had to, you know, this flight was going down and burning flames. And
well, she was trying to pull the ripcord, but that's another story.
It's another one. But the Blue Chew guys, they are a proud sponsor. They help us out. They bring you this show each and every week. So please support the people that support us by going to Blue Chew. And Eli, what do you got to promote?
NWA Power every Tuesday night, 6:05 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube and Facebook. I know you can go to youtube.com/NWA. You'll find that. If you don't catch it live, wish you would. But if you don't, you can catch it anytime after it's aired. It'll be there sitting up there waiting for to be watched by you. You can go to ProWrestlingTees.com/Eli Drake to get all your fabulous model-like merchandise that'll make you look like a superstar on the streets. Made by me, Eli Drake. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Eli Drake. The, because there isn't another.
I like it. Like Ohio State. There we go.
That's right.
Don't forget, head over to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. You can get all the links to our social media and our podcast there, or wherever you get your own podcast. Just type in Wrestling Perspective, rate, subscribe, leave a comment. And the one way we grow is if you tell your friends. So get on your Facebook page or your nerdy wrestling groups or your little Twitter account, and you shout it from a mountaintop to come listen to this podcast. Because, well, I mean, no one else will if you don't.
That is true. Word of mouth advertising, as I said before.
There we go. Eli, Thanks for another great show. I'll see you next week.
Of course.
There we go.